30 is the class. All right, so let's just quickly summarize what we said last class. We started last class by saying there is a item called the Omer. Who was here last class? Lizzie, what was this item? What was it made of? The Omer was an amount, a day's worth of food. What kind of food was it? What was it? Barley is correct. It was barley. I'd write that down. I'm not an expert, but I think a question like that we're going to end up on the final. We'll just ask it. Nice word. More than 2 syllables. Well done, Miriam. Don't patronize her, Shifra.
I just need a yes or no. No. You're right. I really do that all the time.
It's going to be Pesach. It's going to be Omer, and God willing Shavuot if we actually get there. Right. Purim was a lot. Purim was tons. It was the whole Megillah as well. What are you talking? Okay. So you said that the Omer was the barley offering that was brought on the. Anyone here today?
On the
second day. How come you're with it today? Look at you. Very good. Second day of Pesach. Excellent. And it was brought as an offering. Barley, we said, was also the animal food, because when we left Mitzrayim, we were at the level of a lower level. Then we counted 49 days, so we get to the 50th, right? So we get to Shavuot. That falls on that day. Did we mention? I think we mentioned, however, Rabbi Hirsch, on page 129, or maybe it's different in your books, note 3, he says the number 50 is very significant, because 7 always represents a time of work and completion. That's 7 days of the week, 7 notes of the musical scale, 7 colors of the rainbow. 7 always represents this world. The day after, this is important information, the day after, therefore, is a higher level. Okay, that's why 8 is a very, very special day, because 8 follows 7, so it's L'malam and Atev. So a baby's given a brit meal on the 8th day. Okay, so he said 8 is better than 7, or it's more higher than 7. So now you have 7 times 7 is 49. That's what you count. And then the 50th is Shavuot. Okay, so the Omer is taking you from the low levels that we were at when we left Mitzrayim right up to Shavuot. That's 7 times 7 plus 1. So it's 7 plus 1. So it's 7 times 7 plus 1, which is 50. You get it? So just you're going 1 above. That's the Rabbi Hirsch on page 129. So, as we mentioned last class, Omer, happy time, sad time? Happy time is fantastic, right? I'm getting excited. Oh, we spoke about counting up. Why do we count up?
Because every day is important, and you don't want to.
As opposed to count down. This is what she says. Say it again.
Every day is important.
Every day is important, as opposed to.
If you count down, then you're just like getting rid of the day. You're saying like, okay.
When you count down towards something, you're saying, you know what? This is not so important. I just want to get through the days to get to my destination. However, we built exactly at the end of school, as we said last class. However, when we get to the Omer period, we're counting up because each day counts. Each day counts. Okay, what else did we say last class? Okay, we did that. Okay, 1 on the first day of Pesach, very good. And we said we don't count the first day of Pesach because you can have, right, you're not Marbe Simcha B'Simcha. You have all the mitzvot of Pesach. Hashem is not expecting us to add too much onto that day. We focus on Pesach on the first day of Pesach. Second day of Pesach, which in Eretz Yisrael and traditionally was always Chol HaMoed, we start to look ahead to Shavuot. Okay. Let's move on to today's topic, which is that's all true and does apply. However, ladies, something happened later in history that overlapped. So basically you have the Omer period is a happy period, and we're going to see a period of great growth potential, take you to Shavuot, to Matan Torah, give you the Torah, but layered on top, over part of it at least, is going to be a period of mourning. And that's section 3 in Sefirat Haimor 1, that's page 130 for some of you. Where is that? Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's 129, I'm not sure.
130.
130, fabulous. Let's look inside, my darlings, and let's see what happened in history that made the Omer period not such a happy period. Let's look at the Gemara in Yevamot 62b, and there it tells a story of one of the great.
Wait, is this morning period?
This is morning period, yeah. This tells a story of the great Rabbi Akiva, probably one of the most famous Bali Tshuva in Jewish history. He grew up with no Jewish background whatsoever, and at the age of 40, excellent. He started to learn Torah. He sat down in the kids' class, burger, which I deal with. I deal with people who are in their, well, actually probably their late 20s, early 30s, who sit, professional people, very smart, burger, very humbling, but they can reach great heights. He learned for 40 years after that, and then he taught for 40 years. He died at 120, a pretty gruesome death at the hands of the Romans. However, Rabbi Akiva had many great students. And the Gemara tells the following story about him. Rabbi Akiva, about who was he married to? What was his wife's name? Rachel. Where is she buried? Tiberia, that's right. I was there with my wife and daughters. We visited there. Right. A very holy woman. Rabbi Akiva Oimer. Rabbi Akiva says, look inside. Lemet Torah bi'aladuso. Learn Torah. If you learn Torah, lamad Torah bi'aladuso. So if you learn Torah when you were young, yilmod Torah b'skenuso. You should learn Torah when you get older as well. Keep on learning. If you learn Torah when you're young, don't stop. Keep going. Why he says this, we're going to see in a second. Yulo Talmidim b'skenuso, and you should have students in your youth. If you have many students when you're young, you should also have them in your old age as well. Okay, Talmidim b'bi'aladuso, Yulo Talmidim b'skenuso. So if you learn when you're young, keep learning when you're older. If you have students when you're young, keep your students when you're older. Why is he saying this? Why is this lesson coming from Rabbi Akiva? It's a very nice idea, right? If you're involved with something you're young, don't give up on it, keep going. Why is he the person of not giving up when it comes to teaching and learning? Something happened to him in his lifetime, something very horrific. And it says, and he quotes a verse where it says, Baboker zerazarecha, in your morning you should plant your seeds, and in your evening don't let your hand rest. And then the Gemara tells us why Rabbi Akiva was the one to teach us this idea of youth to old age should be equated. Amru, 12,000 zugim talmidim, hayulo, Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students. 12,000 pairs of students, zugim, that would learn, and they were all over, from Givat ad Antipras, from Givat to Antiprat. However, a disease occurred and they all died within one period of time. Right? Kulam Mesu Perik Achad. Why? What was the spiritual reason why these people died? It was a plague, but right. They didn't give honor one to the other. It's unusual. I mean, first of all, these are great people. They're Rabbi Akiva's students. They're not giving honor. We don't understand what that means. But there was something lacking in the way they treated other people. Bein Adam la Chaveiro. Interesting. That seemed to be the problem. It doesn't say they weren't keeping Shabbos properly. They weren't learning Torah enough. They were learning Torah. They were keeping Shabbos. They were doing all the mitzvot. However, they were lacking in their Bein Adam la Chaveiro at their level, whatever that means. But they were. Vayu ha'olam shamem. And the world was desolate. Right? By the way, Rabbi Akiva, and he's lost all his work, his entire life, building these thousands of students, these followers, who basically looked up to him. You know, he was a great leader. Many people looked up to him and saw him as their teacher, and 24,000 of them died. Yeah? What happened? Rabbi Akiva, the world was desolate. That means like his world and the world spiritually was desolate after these people died. Until something happened. He came to the south. Rabbi Akiva, Ad Sheba, Rabbi Akiva Eitza Rabbeinu Shebadarom. Rabbi Akiva went down to the south of Israel, and he started to teach down there. And who were these people? He taught Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Lazar ben Shamua. So what he did was, he didn't try to build up masses of students like he had before. He just picked 5. He picked 5 of the greatest people that he felt were able to, and he started teaching them, and he built up. And these, by the way, these students became great rabbis themselves, and they had many thousands of students as well. Okay? When did this terrible event occur? So Tana Kula Metu at Pesach v'Atzeret, between Pesach and Shavuot. Remember, Atzeret, as we'll see, was Shavuot. Another name for it is Atzeret, means a stopping. Okay. Mi Pesach v'Atzeret, Amar Rav Chama bar Abba v'tem Rav Chia bar Avin kula metu mita ra'a maihi am Rav Nachman askara. They all died from a certain disease that affects the throat. Askara, choking. Askara is how they died at this time. So basically, all the students died. So now you know why the lesson came from him. What was his lesson? His lesson, he could have given up and said, you know what, this is terrible, I lost all my students, I'm going to retire. He didn't do that. He said, if you have students in your youth, if you learn Torah in your youth, learn Torah in your old age, because he was older this time. If you have students in your youth, have students in your old age. So he basically went and he reestablished Torah through these 5 students. So the question is, what exactly did they do wrong? And how does this affect us? And why is that particular Aveira mentioned among all others? Okay? So Amar Rabbi Akiva, it says in Bereshit Rabbah, the Talmud says, my sons, lo metu, try and don't, only the fine ones died, right? The first ones only died because they didn't give generously. They're named Tzara Elu Ve'elu. They weren't generous towards each other. They had a narrow eye, right? Tanu datam shalot tasu k'maseim. He said to them, do me a favor. You 5 learn from what happened to these 24,000. Don't be like them. Don't be like them. Okay? And then you won't suffer the same fate. Why would it be? Why would it be that of all the mitzvot that are out there, why was this one chosen? Why was this one chosen? So Rabbi Akiva is considered to be one of the great fathers, if you will, of the oral law of the Torah Shebe'al Peh, okay, of the oral law. So his students were going to be the continuation of that limud, right? They were going to continue it. However, since at their level they were lacking this Bein Am L'Chaveiro, they were not deemed worthy to be the ones to continue that tradition. That's what the rabbis say. They had to embody what we're going to see, the 48 traits, which is listed in Pirkei Avot, and I brought that over here, that a person has to have in order to acquire Torah. That's what they needed to have, and they were lacking it. They were lacking some of it. Even one of these traits is a problem. Therefore, it seems like, okay, they weren't nice to each other, but they deserved to die for that. You see, what happened was they were representing something much, much bigger. The continuation of the oral law. Had it carried on through them, say Chazal, it would have become a major problem. And therefore, we learn from this a number of lessons, but the most basic one is Torah is not just the observed between us and Hashem, it's also, and more importantly, the observed between us and each other. They were nice, they were not allowed to continue, be part of the chain of the Torah through the generations. And therefore they died. Okay? And it's no coincidence, the rabbis, that it came from the throat, because that's where the vocal cords are that brings out the oral Torah, it's spoken out. So it's mida keneged mida, they were prevented by their throats from speaking out. Yeah.
If they're, I don't understand how rabbis you could just like tell them like them for fear, like they're so high and holy.
I don't know. Does a rabbi see everything? He wasn't a prophet.
Yeah, but like if 12,000 of the students are lacking such a vital quality,
How come he didn't notice it?
yeah, and how can you like point it out, and how can they then notice it?
A good question for all rabbis, isn't it? Rabbi Akiva missed on it. Maybe the rest of the rabbis do as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a fair point. I don't know. Okay. Okay. So since this event happened between these 2 dates, Pesach and Shavuot, we have various customs over this time as well. The famous custom, which most people are aware of, is, says the Shulchan Aruch on page 132, it is customary not to get married during this period. Okay? Why? Because the students of Rabbi Akiva died during that same time period, but you can get engaged. Why can you get engaged? It's also a celebration. Why can you get engaged? What are we concerned about?
Someone else will.
Someone's gonna chop your guy or your girl. Right, so you can get engaged, okay? And they have engagement parties even. Okay, there's no live music there as we're gonna see, and you shouldn't be dancing, but that's what we do. It's also customary not to shave or take a haircut until Lag BaOmer, okay?
Wait,
Which we're gonna
people don't get engaged during these 40 days?
They do. Is engaged, yes. Married, no. Why can you get engaged? Because if you don't get engaged, someone's going to take your potential spouse. So engagement's allowed. Okay. And you have an engagement party. There's just no live music there. They just come, they celebrate, and they have the engagement party. Yeah?
Is it not recommended though?
No, it's fine. Absolutely recommended. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay. What's less fun? No music, or someone running off with your potential shidduch?
I mean, nowadays, I don't think someone's gonna be like, oh, I got you. Come with me. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think
Yes, they are.
anyone's gonna
Okay,
see
let's,
all their shit-up.
You never know. How do you know? Yeah. And another 30, 40 days in between, he, meets someone else, she meets someone else, they reconsider. You ever seen that happen before?
But then it's fate. Gonna get married.
What's fate?
If he meets someone else, that means he's not meant to be with you.
Maybe he's meant to be with you. Maybe his Yetzirah overcame him and he's not meant to be with them. Who's to say how fate works? Right, Lizzie? Who knows? Don't wait too long. Okay. Then don't have an engagement party during the period. You don't have to. It's no obligation. But if you want to, you can. Okay. And that's when the Mishnah passes. People will get engaged and make an engagement party. Okay? However, during the Sefirat, these days we're talking about, because this event that happened, which again is an overlayer on top, instrumental music is prohibited. You're trying to listen to music, there's an element of mourning that comes with it. Happens to be that during this period as well, the Aruch HaShulchan brings down there were a number of tragedies that happened to the Jewish people as well. Okay? Between Pesach and Atzeret, and have been considered, he says, bottom page 132, Elu Yomim Shebein Pesach Atzeret, Muchsach Azal Kol Yisrael, Zeh Shnot Me'ad Rabot, Limei Din V'Yimei Avel, the days of judgment and mourning. Right? Because we saw what happened to Akiva's students. They all died of Askra. He says, furthermore, however, if you look back at the history of France and Germany and Ashkenazic Jewry during this time, you see a lot of the liturgy talks about it. A lot of tragedies and crusades happened during this time, and people were hurt, and a lot happened over there. Okay, so that's basically the in short the reason why the Omer has become an element of mourning to it, Okay, although it's a happy time, it's also, and thus you can have a sad time, which is also a happy time. They're not mutually exclusive. It's not unusual for us. You don't completely submerge yourself into happiness and don't submerge yourself into depression as well about something, right? We can live with both, although they seem contradictory. Okay, it's a very good and important Jewish idea. Jump, if you will, to the second section. Sefirat Haimor 2.
What page?
This would be page 35. 35. Okay. So what happened over here? So, according to Chazal, this carried on, this death happened, and actually stopped and paused at a certain point, and that is the different opinions actually. Some say the 33rd day, and some say the 34th day of the Omer, these deaths stopped. There was a certain break in the death. That's one reason why we stop and we make a celebration on Lag Ba'omer. Lag being 33. Lamed is 30, Gimel is 3. Okay, so we have something called Lag Ba'omer. On the 33rd day, Sephardim, follow the Shulchan Aruch, we're going to see who go with Lad Ba'omer. He says that on the 33rd day it slowed down, but 34th day it stopped. So actually Sephardim keep it going until the 34th day, Lad Ba'omer. However, for the rest of us, the 33rd day, what happened? And we'll see on page 135. This is Avram ben Natan Hayar. This is Sefer HaMinhag, Sefer of different customs. He says, I heard the name of Zechariah Levi from Gerona, that he found written in an ancient book, which came from Spain, that they only died from Pesach until Pros, right, which is 15 days before Aseret, which is Lag Ba'omer. 15 days before Aseret is Lag Ba'omer. That could be 49 less the. So you get to 33. And he says that's what happened. It stopped, and therefore all the laws of mourning, although people have a custom to all until Shavuot, but most people don't, Lag BaOmer is when we stop, and that becomes the end of the mourning period. But something else happened on the 33rd day. Something else happened on the 33rd day that makes it into a celebration that many of you are aware of, because it happens in Eretz Yisrael, in a place called Meron. Who is buried in Meron? Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, fine. So it's becoming, now it's becoming like a mass celebration. When it was like, 50 people, now it's like 5 million Jews and descend on the kever of Shimon Bar Yochai. What happened and how does he get involved? So the Zohar tells us in Parshat Hazinu the following, and we'll do this in the English because it's actually in Aramaic. He says, on that day, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was to leave this world. He died. Died on that day. Yeah. And before he died, he organized all of his teachings, and his friends came to his room, and he says to them, now it's time of favor. I can reveal to you holy things I've not revealed until now. He was a great Kabbalist, the great deep secrets. Okay. Author of the Zohar, as in don't mess with the Zohar. And he decided to teach all of the deep secrets of Kabbalah on the day of his death. Okay? All that day the fire never left his room, and there was no one who was able to approach, as the light of the fire was surrounding him, says the Zohar. After he passed away, they came to bury him, and the fire flew into the air and danced before him. A voice called out, saying, come and gather every year the Hilula, come on the Hilula of Shimon Bar Yochai to his burial place. This is the Zohar, so this is all Kabbalah, really. Okay? Turn over the page. So this became a happy day, although he died on that day, right? Since on the day of his death, he gave over some real Kabbalistic teachings, which are equated to fire. That's the whole fire thing that we get involved in as well. It became a happy day because so much Torah was revealed, deep mystical Torah was revealed on that day. So the 33rd day of the Omer becomes a day of happiness as well. Ram Chaim Vital wrote, the reason for the rejoicing is this is the Kaf HaChaim says this. And he says the name of Chaim Vital, that the reason for the rejoicing is for the students of Rabbi Akiva added afterwards, who did not die like the first 24,000. That's one reason, right? It's still carried on. And he says, I wrote this to teach you there is a basis of the custom mentioned above to go to Meron and celebrate on Lag BaOmer, particularly because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of the 5 great students of Rabbi Akiva, and therefore his time of happiness is Lag BaOmer. Okay? So he was a student, and he was to continue off this tradition of deep Torah, and therefore, Rabbi Akiva, by the way, although we see him as the great Torah, he knew great secrets of the Torah. He could sit and darshan and learn out Kabbalistic concepts and Torah concepts from an extra tag, an extra crown on one of the letters. Right? He had that incredible and immense ability. That's Rabbi Akiva. So these were the students. I mentioned students, right? Just who he was. Yeah? So there's 2 reasons. 1, it stopped this plague. 2, Shimon Bar Yochai died, that's the whole Kabbalah thing, and the fire came out, metaphorically, or maybe literally, I don't know. Depends if you're Ashkenazi or Sephardi. If you're Ashkenazi, it's metaphorical. If you're Sephardi, there was really a fire that came out that day, and that's what it brought to the world. Yeah? And it becomes a happy time. Something else occurred, however, on that day. And this is the 3rd thing we're going to discuss with you, and that was a matter of calculation. Says the Chassam Sofer, it says in the Midrash, Shemiyom Shekala Harara, from the time that the Jews finished the food, which is the matzah, they brought out with them Sheyatzu Mitzrayim, Halchu Gimel Yamim B'lo Lechem, they went 3 days without bread, V'achar Kach Yarat Haman, the man came down. Im Kain Hayu Orat Haman B'Yom Lag BaOmer. He says, if you work it out, you'll see that the man came down on Lag BaOmer. So we are actually celebrating this incredible, in other words, where's the holiday to celebrate the man? We have a holiday for Chris Yom Tov. Well, okay, maybe it's end of Pesach. Right? We have all these holidays, all the other stuff, everything that falls into Pesach. But why not the man? This is actually its holiday. The holiday to celebrate the man is when it first starts to come down, that will last for 40 years. That's because the matzah ran out, 3 extra days without, and then they complained, and then the man came down for them. So Lag BaOmer is Monday. Oh, Monday. Okay. That was accidental. See what I did there? Good enough. Okay.
When's Shavuot, date-wise?
49 days.
No.
I think it's June 11th.
Oh, when actually the English, when it falls asleep, I'm not sure.
I think it's June 11th.
Okay, let's see a final piece on this, and then we'll look at some Lag BaOmer customs, which we will follow. Turn to the bottom of the page. Lag BaOmer is the anniversary. This is Rav Gedalia Shor in Or Gedaliahu, Moadim, the holidays. The Lag BaOmer, Hilula de Rashbi, is the anniversary of the death of Rashbi. And he says, this Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wasn't just any ordinary individual. Right? He was on the level of those who ate the money. So he's now making a connection. He's like, yeah. We see a connection. Bottom of page 1. Yeah, thank you. Note 4. He says, what's the connection? There's got to be some connection. What, so he happened to die that day? He said, no, Rabbi Akiva was a very high level. How high a level was he? That he was on the level of those who ate the man. Well, where do we see that in his life? There's got to be some hint to that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the guy who was on that level. So actually, he did subsist on miraculous food. Anyone know Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai?
Oh, isn't he in a cave?
He was in a cave.
And then there was no food,
And there was no food.
then he came out,
And he nourished himself on
the fruit up here that looks like ground peas. What's it called?
carob.
Yeah.
That's correct. The carob tree was outside, and he drank the water. And for many, many years, because he had to escape because the Romans wanted to kill him, and he nourished himself. All these, they say actually during that time was when he learned so much of his Kabbalah. Okay. Now watch carefully. It's through Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he says, that the oral Torah was revealed because he was a student of Rabbi Akiva. So it's all like one thing. It's all coming together. Are you following it? He was on the same level of people who ate the man. He himself lived his life miraculously on a food just like the man. It's not a coincidence. That's a living example in his life of the level he was at, because this tree itself appeared miraculously, as did the water that he subsisted on for many, many years. He happened to be a great student, one of the great students of Rabbi Shimon of Rabbi Akiva. So now he's the continuation of Torah, and he died on that day many years later, right? And that's not a coincidence, which also happened the day the man fell down for the first time. So it all comes together. It's all one thing. Okay? Rabbi Akiva was the foundation of the oral law. Right? Every anonymous statement of the Tanaim, whenever you have an anonymous statement in the Gemara, it's Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was Rabbi Akiva's student, and the revelation, the secret plan of Torah, came through him.
So you're going to read the age of 40 and Lag BaOmer.
Get married, Lag BaOmer. It was the only possible.
But like it's not the best.
That's fine. It was only possible to reveal it though through those who ate the man. Right? In other words, the man was assigned at a level that, because the people who ate the man received the Torah. So he's like, so we have to find someone to continue who's on the level of the people of the man. That's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You find the little pieces here, it all comes together. Cute, right? Therefore, it's appropriate the death of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was on Lag BaOmer. As on that day, the man began to fall. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was on the level of those who ate the man, left the world of Lag BaOmer. It all comes together, and he was a continuation. How do I know it? He was like the man people. He lived on a man-like substance for all those years, miraculous food, because the tree appeared miraculously, and he becomes a continuation of it. Yeah.
So every Jew that left Mitzrayim was on the love, was so spiritual.
It's a maybe it's just more on Shavuot, but yeah, they say that even the handmaiden, God bless you, who left Mitzrayim and was going through Kiryas Yamsuf, saw visions that were equal to the Merkava vision, the chariot, one of the great mystical prophetic visions of Yechezkel ben Buzi, Ezekiel, the prophet. He saw the Merkava, this great Kabbalistic, very deep prophetic vision that he received. And even though it was handmaiden, because they all saw Kadosh Baruch Hu, Zekelev Yanveu, they experienced God. However, they were still the ones who got involved in the Chet Egel. And the short answer is, there's a difference between being given a gift and having that which they were given as a gift in order to receive the Torah and working for it. They put no effort. It was given to them. If it's given, it can be taken away.
Didn't Hashem reveal himself after the desert and only once they got...
They were in the desert. Hashem revealed himself. Right, and right afterwards, they had the problem with the Chet Egel. So how could they worship a golden calf after having that incredible vision of all the Makkos and the splitting of the sea and Har Sinai? And the answer is because inspiration can come to anybody, it can be given to a person, but if they didn't earn it, they could lose it as quickly as they do earn it.
And
It's one of the secrets of life, that is, by the way. I've given you spiritual gold right there. You're welcome. Yeah?
And that's when Hashem said, and that's why like Hashem, like they say like that's it, like Hashem didn't reveal himself in the world anymore.
Hashem did reveal himself to the world, not to them.
No, but I thought after that, after Pesach, he's like, after the whole thing in Egypt, I thought everyone was like, then Hashem had like, he's gonna hide himself in the world.
No.
He's not gonna say that reveal.
No. They got to Har Sinai, they received the revelation over there, and people who are worthy of it still have it. Okay? But that particular generation did not. Okay? So we know various Lag BaOmer customs, people get involved with it, but actually know the reasons for it, you may get a little bit more out of it. People go to Meron, the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. This is brought down in the Toldot Ha'ari. And he says, we may in the days of our master, Rav Yosef Karo, they agreed the Jews would not make a big celebration on Lag BaOmer, the great Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. It seemed our master, as Bet Din, it was a great people who danced there. However, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai said to him, I said, you make a mistake. Come to my kever, it's a good thing to do. Okay? There in the book Tamei HaMinhagim, great book, there's all the different minhagim. Cutting the hair of a 3-year-old boy, doing the upshearing, the halakah of little boys is generally weight, and they do it over there. What is that? That's a minhag. It's actually not that old, that minhag, probably 800-900 years old, which for us Jewish people is like yesterday, you know? Why do we do that? Just for interest? Since we're on the topic, why do we cut 3-year-old hair at 3 years old?
There's only boys though, right?
Only boys, yeah.
I feel like it's a sacrifice to God or something.
Oh, heavens. Oh, no. And you can't use the sheitel after
No,
that.
like, you know that
You
thing?
can't make sheitel hair out of it if
You
you're
know
that
that
true.
thing where like there's a person who doesn't cut his hair, doesn't drink wine, doesn't...
Oh, the Nazir, you want to say.
Something like that.
Very good. I take it back. Oh, very interesting. Never thought of that. Very interesting. The Nazir he does take his hair up, and that's true. Yeah, no, his hair a little bit different. Over here, it's a custom. It is a minhag. It is a minhag. You do not have to do it. People consider this more important than like Shabbat, you know. It is a minhag, but it's a nice minhag. And the idea of 3, where else we see something that's not touched for the first 3 years?
Fruit.
What's with you today? You're on fire today. You're channeling Shimon Bar Yochai. That's right. Fruit.
She could be his soul.
Orla.
Whatever.
Orla. The first 3 years of a tree's life, you cannot eat fruit of that tree. Okay? Since a connection is made between humans and trees, right? Man is like the fruit of the tree of the field. We are like trees, right? There's a lot of metaphor of we have roots we put in, just like roots come, we grow, we want to be strong for the future, this kind of stuff. So we also do not touch the hair of the child. That became a custom, okay? Regarding the haircut, which is known as the chalakah, Rav Chaim Vital writes, it is a well-known custom. It seems this custom dates from even before times of the Rishonim. Oh, he says even more. I'll take that back. So it goes back to, the Arizal even came from Egypt to Meron to encourage and keep this known custom on the days of feasting and rejoicing. I'll take it back. Okay? Why do we make bonfires? It's a custom to make bonfires on this day. You've seen that?
Yeah.
On Meron on that day. So, since it is the anniversary of the death of Shimon Bar Yochai, since he brought tremendous light to the world, okay, they light candles. This is the letter from of Bartolome from Darach Tzion. They light many candles because many barren women were remembered and became pregnant. Many sick people were cured of their gout of these gifts. So they make fires, and he represents the idea of fire as well. Okay, and other customs which are not for now. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, let's finish off with this. So so let's go back kind of to where we started. So we said there's a mourning period related to it. The mourning stops Lag BaOmer. We saw 3 reasons why we celebrate Lag BaOmer. Now we're going to say, let's go back to the original, which is that it's actually a good time. It's a good time of preparation, spiritual preparation. Hashem set aside these 49 days to take us to the 50th, because remember 50 succeeds the 49, right? 49 is 7 times 7. 7 represents this was 1 after 7, so 50 is 1 after 7 times 7. So there is a custom to learn and work on different midot every single day. Happens to be many people take the 7 Sefirot, right? The 7 divine emanations, which is Kabbalah, although those 7 Sefirot, people don't realize, are actually mentioned in Tanakh, in Divrei Hayamim. And these, it's become accustomed to take these 7 times 7 and to work on a different aspect of one personality. So the idea of 48 or 49 is mentioned elsewhere. It's in Pirkei Avot. So if you will just jump, if you don't mind, a few pages. I'm trying to get through a lot. Jump to page 6, 38, 40, 142, please. And here is a Braita, not a Mishnah, because it's in the 6th chapter of Pirkei Avot. And the Mishnah tells us that there are 48 ways to acquire Torah. If you want to acquire Torah, and my yeshiva, they made us memorize this, God bless them, but I don't know by heart anymore, but I did when I was a kid. What are the 48 ways to acquire Torah? So let's have a look. Let's have a look at them. And basically what people do is, one custom is, to take each one of them every day, work on, at least thinking or working on each one of these 48, and then the 49th becomes like a collection of all of them.
What's 48 ways to what?
To acquire Torah. This is the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. HaTorah nignit ba'arba v'shmona devarim. The Torah is acquired through 48 qualities, which are, okay, we'll do it in English. Studying, Talmud. Shmiya oizen, carefully listening. Saying one's studies aloud. Intuitive understanding. Zichot alev. Discernment. Awe of teachers. You heard that? Thought I went out there.
I knew you were going to comment. Like I saw it.
You saw it coming, right? You saw that one coming, Sheffield. It was like, I'm predictable.
Just like, yeah.
My kids say that.
Gotta change it up, you know?
You gotta mix it up a little bit, yeah. Fear of heaven, Yirat Shemayim. Humility, another from Moshe Rabbeinu. Joy, purity. Serving the wise. Being close with fellow students. That's how we learn, by connecting with them. Evaluative discussion with fellow students, talking to them. Calmness. Knowledge of Tanakh, knowledge of Mishnah, moderation in business activity, moderation in worldly activity, moderation in physical pleasure, moderation in sleep, moderation in sleep, moderation in speech, moderation in merrymaking, slow to anger, having a lev tov, a good heart, faith in the sages, accepting suffering, knowing one's place, being happy with what we have, making a fence around one's words, not boasting, endearing oneself to others, loving Hashem, loving brios, as creatures, loving righteousness, chesed, loving justice, loving to have one's mistakes corrected. That's a tough one. Keeping far from honor, not being arrogant about one's knowledge, not enjoying making halakhic decisions, sharing another person's troubles, judging others positively, setting them in the path of truth, setting the path of peace, teaching calmly, asking and answering. I'm good at that. Listening and adding insight, studying in order to teach, studying in order to do the mitzvot. Right? Making one's teacher wiser.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Reflecting over one's lessons, repeating an idea in the name of the person who said it first. And then we go all the way back to Purim. Where do we let, out of all the things, this last one, saying something b'shem omro, in the name of the person who you heard it from.
Oh, Esther did that.
Exactly. We learned whoever repeats an idea in the name of the originator brings redemption to the world, as it says in the Megillah, and Esther told to the king in Mordechai's name. You have to memorize those 48. It's going to
No.
Of course we don't have to be crazy.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What does it mean by not enjoying making complex decisions?
It's fine. Like, you shouldn't be the one who's like, yes, and it's more for post-skim, I guess. Right? Who make lucky decisions. Right? You should be like in awe of it. It's a big responsibility.
You had to memorize that in Hebrew or English?
What, when I did it? Hebrew. Actually, we had a thing in my yeshiva. My yeshiva was very big at memorizing stuff. He used to, if you memorize all of Pirkei Avot, which I didn't do,
What does that even mean?
memorize it.
The whole book
The whole thing, yeah.
by heart?
I did the first few chapters, and unfortunately I'm not that bright. There was a kid in my class at yeshiva. He went to MIT. This is yeshiva after I went to MIT as a Baal Tshuva. This guy memorized tractates,
What's that?
an entire volume of the entire Talmud. He knew it by heart.
Do you know what it meant or just the Hebrew word?
Oh no, he knew it, and he knew the argument, the Shachar V'Tari, backwards and forwards. Yeah, he actually taught me. It is such a mind. But you know what? It's not so true. He taught me a memorization technique of attaching images. He had a whole thing, and he would like images of everything, and he learned the entire thing that way. I wonder where he went to actually. I think it was actually in the army. I think it was a convert as well. Actually.
Israeli army?
No, it was in the American army, and he was at MIT on that. I think that guy was an absolute genius, and he had his memorization technique. And he taught it to me, and I used that a little bit as well.
Technique?
Yeah, I told you, you take images and numbers, and if you attach, people remember images better than remember words. If you attach an image to an idea, you remember it. You've heard this before, right? This is, I say memorize
What,
that.
every single word?
No,
How many pictures
he
does he
did
know?
it. He did it. Basically, you make an idea into an image. You know,
It's not like that.
it was like, but it had to be very new. It had to be very weird images. It had to be like I'll never forget. He helped me memorize something using like. I'm talking 25 years ago. You memorize something by like taking a crab, playing a piano, smoking a cigar. Each one of those represents something else, and you put them together. And the crab sounds like this. It was a whole thing. That's what he did. And by the way, memorizing Pirkei Avot helps anyone, but especially rabbis, because we have a Devar Torah. Somebody give me Devar Torah. There's always something you can grab from Pirkei Avot. Right, Shem Bracha. There's always a Mishnah from Pirkei Avot you can bring out. It's always worth having a Devar Torah. By the way, I'll say this with you as well. It's worth every Jew, especially the ones who come to Stern College, who have to go and you're the rabbis of the family, right? Just to have you should have 4 or 5 different Torah ready to go at any time.
You can spin anything into Mashiach, you're fine.
Even better. Gam Zulatova. Okay? So that became the custom. People work on a different midah, maybe different the Sefirot, or a different midah of the Mishnah, right? To work on themselves during this time, right? It's an opportune time for spiritual development.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Like acted as if we're surprised, but is that only especially important during these 48/49 days, or is that something you can work on throughout
Obviously.
the year?
So the answer to that question is a very good question. So you're going to hear this a lot. This is a good time for tshuva, right? It says made tshuva. It's a good time for this. We'll talk about that next semester. You can do tshuva anytime, right? You can work on yourself anytime. However, there are certain times of the year that are musugal, that are more precious and more open for certain things. Just like Pesach is more open to freedom, we said. Yom Kippur is for kapara. You can get kapara and you get free anytime. Hashem created the calendar, we said, with certain days that are open. These days are open for spiritual growth.
What does that mean?
They were set up that way.
As in every other day is closed, or just less
Not
open?
less open. Here, I'll give you an example. Right now, you have radio waves flying around you. Right?
Okay.
You can tune in. Right? You go to the basement, it ain't that clear. Right? Certain places and times, places as well, geographic locations like Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, the radio waves are heard clearer. There's certain spiritual waves, if you will, let's use that metaphor, that are better. Let's use the 2016, Wi-Fi is better in some places than other places. Right? Same thing, there's certain times of the year and certain physical locations where the Wi-Fi is, spiritual Wi-Fi is stronger. There you go. That's a good idea for an article.
Stern right there, that's the definition.
There you go. I hope it is. I hope so. Okay, that was 2 parts on the Omer, Ladba Omer, customs, growth potential, and we will begin Shavuot, next class, which will be on Monday.
And then was the after Pesach thing? Are we deciding on a different day, or is that decided now? Oh, it's just not happening.